2, 5, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So welcome to the Cryptonomatron. Today is the 21st of March 2018. I'm doing another token to watch video back by popular demand. So it's credits today. What's credits? Well, it's a platform. It is a fast blockchain platform. They claim that they can get to 1 million transactions per second, which will be a real step forward in the scalability issues of the other platforms, if it can do so. They have already said they've tested to around 400,000 transactions per second, so it's looking very promising indeed. It's just, funnily enough, I've been saying I'm going to do this video for a few days, and I was away over the weekend, so I couldn't do it. And I knew the price was going to spike, and lo and behold, it did that this morning. It's now, it's up 50% in the last 24 hours. It's gone from around 50 cents or under 50 cents during the bull run up to about 75 cents today. And there's still a lot of momentum and mileage left in this one, guys. It really isn't too late for you to get in, because I believe if credits gets adopted by a few enterprises and a few dApps, I think credits could do very well for itself indeed. So let's begin the review. Let's have a look at it, and let's start off with the competition. So an interesting comparison of similar platforms here from the credits presentation. Now there's a white paper, there's a technical paper, and there's a few presentations as well, and it's all pretty good because it lets me find all the information that I need pretty easily without having to troll through lots of documentation. So I like these presentations, and they're very simple to read, and they help investors sum up what they're getting involved with very quickly, rather than having to have a technical a paper that they might not quite fully understand, and and then have lots of questions afterwards. So this is a good comparison, and I'm always thankful to projects that bother to put these kind of things together, so it's very easy for me to make my videos and do a presentation. So let's have a quick look. We have some some different comparisons now. Credits is a ledger blockchain. It's not a classical blockchain, as we can see. It's not a side chain either. You notice that Plasma is mentioned there, for Ethereum, but again, it's a side chain. It just solves some of the scalability issues of the original Ethereum main chain. And then there's some differences between the other projects as well. We've got some that are already working, like Ripple, obviously, and Ethereum's probably a better comparison, and Neo partially working when they released this this documentation. So as far as credits as a project is concerned, it's still under development. They're still working towards their target of 1 million transactions per second. And they are focusing on financial and Internet of Things as well. So those are the specific areas that they want the project to apply to. Now, as far as the different transaction volumes, 1 million is the target for credits. I think they've just demoed up to about 480,000 transactions per second in their alpha version. They say beta is coming soon, so that's something to look to. And really the only other comparisons we can look to here are EOS, which has a target of 1 million transactions per second, and Plasma. But bearing in mind, both of those are side chains and don't really address the problems of scalability on the main chain itself. As far as smart contracts are concerned, of course, you can use a smart contract system on credits. We'll look a little bit more at the technology behind that in a minute. So it's only really applicable for some of the other rivals like Neo and Ethereum, I would say. You've also got API, so you can integrate with existing software solutions, and their transaction speeds are going to be about 1 to 3 seconds for each transaction, which of course, as we know, is a lot faster than Ethereum, which is around 5 minutes on average, and can be even worse than that depending on how busy the network is. And that's really going to affect Ethereum in the longer term, I feel, and people will start to jump ship onto faster platforms. That's just the way it's going to happen, because it won't be viable to use it. You can't wait an hour for a transaction if you're trying to pay for a coffee, or you're trying to order something off the internet. You're trying to get involved in an ICO. You're not going to be sitting there and waiting for a long time. The other problem that credits will have in comparison with its competition is the fact of getting developers on side as well, because a lot of developers will be working on the most popular platforms like Ethereum. Some are trying to work on EOS at the moment. First ICOs are coming out on EOS and very soon, and they won't really be focused on the new platforms, because you've got to go where the work is, guys. You can't you can't just sideline yourself and say, right, I'm going to develop on credits. You have to know it's a viable thing to actually dedicate your career towards learning the blockchain and how it works. So most people will develop on Solidity, on Ethereum, but just because that's where the work is. So that's the other issue that credits will have against its competition. However, if it does prove itself and starts to get adopted and more developers move over, then it could really be a threat to some of the already established platforms. So let's look at the problems they want to solve, and of course they are the problems of scalability and latency, and they apply to all blockchains in one way or another. And the current platforms have a very low network capacity, low scalability, lack of scalability even, and now we're looking at about 10 to 500 transactions per second on average for the most common blockchain platforms. Also, the time of payments as well, the time to take your transaction is from 1 to 10 minutes on average now, and that's just not suitable for the future. It's got to be much quicker. Execution of a smart contract often takes a long time now as well, 1 to 10 minutes. They cost a lot of money, especially if the network's busy. Your gas fees on Ethereum are very high if the network is busy. And some of them don't have functional smart contracts as well. So, Bitcoin, which was blockchain 1.0, was overtaken by Ethereum 2.0 because it simply didn't have the ability to perform smart contracts. So Ethereum was the first one that came out with that. And there are still a lot of blockchains out there that don't have that ability. So that's something that credits wants to address. And then there's also the issue of volume of saved data, and that's gains between 10 and 20 gigabytes per week as well. So credits aims to have an open blockchain with an internal cryptocurrency and self-executing smart contracts as well, and it's completely independent, brand new development based on their own tech. So it's not based on any of the current technology such as Ethereum, which some other platforms are. It's a business-to-business platform, or protocol if you like, mainly for companies and also for developers to create services based on the blockchain and smart contracts. The platform has some unique features. We'll look at that in a minute. The first one that we need to mention is, of course, the famous now and reputed volume of transactions, which they claim they can do over 1 million transactions per second. That will be completely game-changing for the future, and transactions will only take 0.01 seconds. Which is much faster than anything we're using at the moment, and also very low price to transact, from less than a tenth of a cent. So you can see where the they can see where they need to perform, and again, it's going to be interesting to see whether they can actually get to these speeds and prices, given that they've already launched the alpha, and beta should be coming soon. So the markets they're targeting are banks, payments and transfers, financial companies, that type of thing, but also Internet of Things as well, as mentioned, which is interesting. However, it makes up only just 5% of their total. As you can see from the pie chart, they've separated down how much they think, what type of companies they believe are going to use their platform. And obviously the thing about using this platform is that it can also offer smart contracts as well. So that's an advantage it has over some of the other payment specific coins. And You can also use the credits cryptocurrency as as a cryptocurrency, as a payment service to settle debts, etc. So they've targeted the financial services market and Internet of Things for a specific reason, because they believe that their blockchain can perform those services better, rather than being used as a catch-all for like any sort of dApps built on the back of it, much like Ethereum is at the moment. So let's look at latency, because latency is a big issue, and more specifically, latency is an issue for financial technologies, financial blockchains, because the problem is the network. Latency, it has issues because of the network capacity, of bandwidth, and also the actual response time compared to the expected response time, and also the transaction speed. So if you can have a fast blockchain that it cuts down on the transaction times, that's very, very important for financial services. The reason being, you can't go into a shop and pay with a cryptocurrency if it's going to take 10 or 15 minutes when the network's busy to pay for the item you're buying. You're not going to stand there. They have to have a waiting area. That's just not feasible in the modern world. Now, Visa and MasterCard, they can process transactions very, very quickly with their system. So if you're going to tackle them like Credits is looking at, you really need to have a very, very fast blockchain, and that's the reason what they're looking at. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this in the market section and not the problem section is because you can now see the sort of market they're aiming at. They're not looking to be like another Ethereum where people are just going to build dApps on the back of it, although you will be able to with this platform. They're looking to actually specifically target financial services and be a payment service. And this is very, very important, because that's the main market you'd expect from a cryptocurrency, certainly a currency, digital currency. We've seen Ripple and we've seen these other ones have be touted as the replacement for Swift and going to be used by all these banking chains. However, they have their drawbacks already, so you can see why Credits are aiming at this particular market. So interestingly, I found this article by Andy Barker. He's head of global payments at Magento, and it says there's an untapped market for B2B payments of 6.7 trillion US dollars. That's a phenomenal amount of money, and if it's largely untapped, even if Credits can get a small percentage of that, you can see the potential here. And already there is a need for better business to business payment services. The technology is actually stagnated and hasn't really moved with the times, so there really needs to be a solution. So potentially Credits could be that solution, who knows. So as far as the SWOT analysis is concerned, they are outlining their strengths, opportunities, weaknesses and threats. I like to see this from companies. It means that they're actually trying to do business rather than just a white paper. They've actually done the analysis and they're showing you where their strengths and weaknesses lie, and their opportunities and threats lie as well. Now, this is normally done as part of a business plan. You rarely see it in different white papers. So, overall, the material for this project is very, very good. It's well thought out. It ticks all the boxes. It covers all the bases, much, much more so than other cryptocurrency projects that have launched an ICO recently. So let's take a look at the strengths. First of all, well, the quality of the product that's demanded by the users is obviously going to be a strength. The experience and skills of the team, experience in financial sector, development of IT projects already, and the main one probably for me would be a truly new technological solution to the platform characteristics. Opportunities in the market. Well, obviously it's a developing market. It's up 500% year on year. Many niches are open as well. There are no working analogues, and they don't anticipate any within the next 6 months, so they're probably going to be the first. And recognition of cryptocurrencies at the legislative level. Now, we just saw the US Congress sort of give their approval to blockchain technology the other day, and more and more countries are recognizing the demand for and usefulness of cryptocurrency in general. So of course, a lot of opportunities. Needless to say, trillions of dollars to be made. I would say if you position yourself right and you can hold on through any possible bubbles or any volatility in the market. Now, there are weaknesses, obviously. You need to take time to develop the product. and the market's changing all the time, so new technologies are appearing that may usurp your command of the market. Also, there's financial limitations. The cost to enter the market grows every year, and blockchain is a new technology as well. It's another weakness. Not everybody understands its benefits yet. We're getting there slowly but surely. You guys that are early investors in this technology will obviously benefit a lot more by investing now rather than at a later stage. Now, there are threats, of course. I've discussed these as well. Several negatives in my review at the end, in my summary at the end, state that country and state regulations are a problem and can obviously affect different projects in a number of different ways. But also, and notwithstanding the value, and also competitive activity, more and more companies are entering this market, so it's going to get clogged. And at least they recognise that, and they're being honest and saying, "Yep, we want to be at the forefront of this technology, but we recognise what threatens us as a company, and also our weaknesses where we need to improve on." And I think doing these SWOT analysis shows you that these guys have got a proper business acumen, and they're approaching the project in the correct manner. It's the way I would do it. So the team is pretty extensive, bigger than I would have expected actually before I really looked in depth into this project. So it was a bit of a surprise to see so many project team members. There we go, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 34 team members, and then the advisory board is pretty big too, with 8 people on it as well. So let's just briefly have a quick look through them. Igor is the CEO and founder. He's been involved with fintech projects, bank and credit e-services, affiliate marketing companies for banks, etc. He's got 2 years experience with blockchain business and working with credits since 2016. I like that. He's not trying to embellish the fact and say, "Oh, I've been involved with cryptocurrency since 2009, 2010 or whatever." He's only been involved for a couple of years, but obviously understands the importance of it. We have Eugenie here. He's the CTO and co-founder. 10 years experience in software development. Let's see. Solutions engineer based on blockchain technology in Russia. He's been working on credit since 2016 as well. And then we've got Valentin. He's a team leader, another programmer. A couple of years in blockchain, working on Solidity with Ethereum. And David Kidze, I think you pronounce that. He's the Chief Operating Officer. He's got 6 years of experience in cryptocurrency, developing and consulting blockchain projects, expert in marketing for ICOs, building partnerships with retail investors and angel investors. So interesting little project team there, and of course they have a lot of other members that I won't bother going through each one. They obviously have their individual roles that we don't necessarily need to discuss, but the team's extensive and it seems to be well spread. They've got a good breadth of experience. Maybe a bit too localized from what I normally like. I like a bit more international input in teams. They seem to all be Russian, which is fine. I mean, the advisory board does have people from US and France as well, as we can see there. So, it's not, the advisory board isn't too localized, but the team itself I would consider maybe a bit too much. But it's not really going to matter if they can deliver, is it? And this team looks like it has the possibility and the ability, I should say, of being able to deliver this platform. So just another quick word about the advisory board. I had a look through them. It looks quite strong, actually. They're all involved in finance or blockchain or even ICOs as well. So they've got a good spread in the advisory body as well. If we just have a quick look through, there's this guy Kyle Wang. He is pretty experienced. He's passionate. You can see he's passionate about blockchain too. He's been involved in a few other startups and blockchains, and also interestingly he was a senior consultant for IBM as well, for blockchain strategy and project management, and he's got credits on his LinkedIn page, which I think is quite important. There's a lot of a lot of people will take that into consideration when they're looking at a team if if what they're meant to be advising isn't mentioned. And there's another one there, credits blockchain on Michael Kapilov's profile. He's he deals with ICO advertisement and other sort of PR, public affairs and stuff like that. And just, I'll mention this guy very briefly. He does not mention that he's involved with credits, I don't think, at all, which is odd. But he is a director at IBM Blockchain Labs and still working there. He's advising the project according to the website, and he works at IBM Systems Group. So he's an interesting guy to have advising you on blockchain. So as far as partners are concerned, they have been audited by Entersoft, and they're a security provider, and have obviously audited their smart contract and everything else, but they've also gone and done legal audits as well. They are well, they have not partnered with, but they have the opinion of Consilium, which is a Singapore licensed law firm. Of course, Credits is actually based in Singapore, and it looks like they're seeking an opinion on utility tokens from a legal firm in the USA as well. Interesting to note, some first users are ready to implement the Credits platform for developing their decentralized apps. There's some noted here: Ties.db, which I've heard of before, ComSkill, Days, CQ9 Gaming, Messenger Bank, and there are a few more. They claim over 100. You can have a little look at these websites. So already it's looking like there is a lot of interest from developers for DApps or dApps in this platform, and that's very, very good sign, especially from an investment standpoint at the moment. Because the more developers that use it, and the more ICOs that are launched in it, and the more projects that are on this blockchain, the more value you're going to get for your tokens, really, because the more valuable the tokens will become over time. So yes, something we like to see, definitely. So community support for this project is very strong, but also from the team as well, letting us know what's going on exactly with the project. As you can see, there is regular updates on their blog as well, including the speed tests of their platform to prove that they're doing what they say they're doing, which is very interesting. As far as social media is concerned, they seem to have all the bases covered. They have a lot of followers on each of the platforms, including 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I would say that for projects especially, maybe not for reviewers like me, or people that make videos on a number of projects, but for single projects to get 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, it takes a bit of effort. So that's pretty well done for them. As far as Telegram is concerned, they have almost 28,000 members now, and a very notable 15,500 followers on Twitter, which is pretty impressive. Now, the reason that I say they're well supported is not only because of the followers they have on the various social media platforms. While that's impressive in its own right, there seems to be a bit of a buzz about this project. A lot of people talking about it, a lot of influencers. Michael Supo, if you watch him, Supoman, he's talking about Credits a lot. There is a lot of people, and a lot of people have been asking me to do this review. So there's interest in it, there's buzz about it, there's hype about it, and as we know, cryptocurrency at the moment, in early days of these markets, hype has got a lot to do with cryptocurrency, and it drives the interest, it drives the value, and Credits has that in abundance, and I think that's why it's probably quite a reasonable investment at this time. So the blockchain is their own blockchain, and we've discussed pretty much what they are trying to do as far as speed and transaction times and costs are concerned. But how are they going to achieve that? Well, obviously they have a new network architecture. They have proven security measures. They have a revolutionary consensus-based algorithm, which is faster, more stable than other platforms, they claim. Obviously, no mining is required. They've already issued all their coins during the ICO, which wasn't too long ago. I believe all the coins were sent to a wallet, or sent to wallets earlier this month. They have what's called an asynchronous system, which is basically parallel processing. It means that it's not just one transaction after another on the chain. It can actually process more than one at the same time, and it also employs what's called data compression, which is used to decrease the bandwidth used as well, and minimize the space that node owners need to have if they want to run a node. It also employs smart contracts, as we mentioned before. It has API interface as well to connect to smart contracts from outside systems. Also has an SDK, so developers and users can develop on it. And it utilises Java virtual machine language as well, which they claim is more flexible for high-load applications. Now, if we take a little look at this comparison with both Bitcoin and Ethereum, you can see that the protocol itself is far faster, as we've discussed already, a lot cheaper. And of course, you know, there's more transactions can be processed in total as well. If we look at the smart contracts, obviously not applicable to Bitcoin, but Credits offers an autonomous smart contract function. It uses cycles, schedules, and also you can generate API from smart contracts too, which Ethereum cannot do. So to discuss the technology in more detail, we'll start with the security, then we'll look at the technological aspects of it using this great presentation they've provided for us, and we'll also look at the consensus algorithm as well. So there are several ways that they're looking to improve the security of their system, and they're using homomorphic encryption, which they work with encrypted queries at all steps or all ranks of iteration. They're utilizing hash search as well as a way of picking out nodes that can't be trusted. They're using hash value, and it's all explained here. There's no need for me really to go into further detail about it unless you're of a technical persuasion and you really want to know. You can read the technical paper. As I said, there's one provided. Decision making, they're using federative decision making for added transactions. C++, and that abandons the use of third-party frameworks and allows full control of memory and code execution. They're utilizing an archiving algorithm and rank values, node selection as well. And also decentralization of ownership. So decentralization being a key positive in blockchain technology, as we've discussed on numerous times. So just a further note on the homomorphic encryption. What it does is it reduces the transaction time because it doesn't have to completely decrypt the data. At the same time, they're not compromising security or privacy either, and that's very, very important. So as I mentioned before, it is asynchronous, and that means that consensus can be achieved in a parallel manner rather than having to do everything in an order. Several transactions can be processed at the same time, and then a list is loaded and compiled and then sent to the network, and that's basically how it works. So the consensus is a new combined consensus protocol that credits are manufactured, and it's based on calculating the mathematical function of all the registry transactions using proof of work principle, and then it determines the storage of the last up-to-date copy of this registry and software on the node, which is called proof of capacity. So by calculating the whole of the values of the entire contents, that gives the hash code, and the file size is determined as well. The proof that this is the last up-to-date copy and the hash code of the last transaction that was saved in the system. And that's how they can achieve a parallel consensus rather than doing one transaction after the other and updating accordingly. So it'll be a lot quicker. That's what they intend. Now, main nodes will receive 50% of transaction fees in credits, the cryptocurrency, and the remaining 50% of fees will be distributed amongst trusted nodes as well. So if you're a node, you will get rewarded for being part of the network. Now, the way the consensus works is it first starts for searching for the main network node. It then generates a list of trusted nodes, which it's going to use to make the decision for the fault tolerance. Then it gets a list of transactions, processes the list of candidates and the node voting, then it generates the list of confirmed transactions for addition to a registry, then it adds transactions to the registry with the timestamp and the hash code of the block that contained the transaction, then it sends a block with transactions to all the network nodes, and upon receipt it's added to the registries on all the nodes. And that's how it basically works. Sounds quite complicated, but at the end of the day, all you really need to know is it's going to be quicker than current methodology and going to reward those that are acting as main nodes or trusted nodes within the network. So the cryptocurrency, the use case for it is basically to pay fees on the network. Now, anything that you do on the network will be, you'll require to pay for or receive credit tokens. It's an ERC20 token at the moment, but they're going to have their own proprietary cryptocurrency once their blockchain is fully up and running, and you'll be able to basically token swap for that proprietary currency in the future. The ERC20 token, the Ethereum token, is only used for the ease of doing a smart contract for an ICO and distribution, etc., etc. So examples of use for the currency are payment for creating smart contracts, performing any operations on smart contracts, fees, adding information on the operation to the blockchain, payment for the transfer of credits, cryptocurrency between the participants. So if you're sending the crypto, you'll require to pay a little bit of a fee as well. You can also use it to purchase information from third-party sources for services within the system, and they'll use oracles for that. There's also a use for operations on the exchange of different currencies within the system, and also it will be used as a fee for the transfer of tokens that are created on the credits platform. So if you launch your own ICO or you launch your own project with your own proprietary token based on the credits platform, the credits will be used as a fee, or the gas if you like, for transferring your own tokens. So this is a project I believe has very good token economics. I think they make sense. We haven't got overwhelmingly large supplies. The token price is still fairly reasonable from what it was at ICO in my opinion, and the market cap is still under 100 million US dollars, and its rank is about 122 on CoinMarketCap, which means that there's still a lot of opportunity in credits. It's not just shot its load after the ICO and has gone too high to be considered. So I think it still represents quite a reasonable investment, as I said before. But as ever, do your own due diligence and research before investing in any cryptocurrency. As we know, they are all volatile at the moment, and they go up and down. So you have to be aware of that. Nothing is certain. But credits provides us with a reasonable opportunity, I would say. Now, it's currently trading at just over 65 cents. A few hours ago, it was up at 75 cents, so you can see how volatile it currently is. Just trading at over 7,200 Satoshis, as you can see there, and up today on a little bit of good news bull run caused by US Congress acceptance of blockchain, and a few other good news stories as well. So it's only been out since the 2nd of March, as you can see there. Its current all-time high looks like it was around just over $1.14 or something like that. Yeah, $1.12. So it's already been almost double of what it is just now, and it's had a little bit of volatility since then, but looks like it's starting to grow steadily. Volume is at 448 Bitcoin per day, and that's pretty big. I mean, that's $4 million going through it every day, so it's pretty significant. Where is it available? Let's have a look. So it's on KuCoin, which is usually the death knell for any small alts. Tidex as well, IDEX, and Gate.io, and a new one down there, DDEX, which I've never used myself. But there you go. That's where you can buy it if you want it. Historical data, let's just quickly have a little squiz at that too, since we're here. And yeah, it's only been out since the 2nd of March, as I said. So it's grown from hitting the exchanges at 45 cents up to the high of $1.17, which is pretty impressive in a couple of days, considering there would have been a lot of people probably anxious to buy it that missed out at the ICO, and a few people wanting to shift it on as well that were just interested in flipping. So yeah, it's a good position at the moment. Still a reasonable price to get in my opinion. You might want to wait 24 hours just to see if it has a little redress, from its little run. But again, I think anything at under $1 to buy this is a bargain, to be honest with you. So there were a couple of issues with this project, and people were concerned that it's going to be a scam. Now let me explain this. When you claim something that's not been achieved before in the cryptocurrency space by blockchain technology, and you say you're going to make 1 million transactions per second, then people are always going to be very, very skeptical whether that's possible and whether you're not just claiming it to raise money and do an exit scam. It's as simple as that. So it's going to be difficult to achieve anyway. With advancing technology, it will no doubt happen in the future, but at the moment, people remain skeptical. There was a video by a guy called Ivan on Tech that was released that questioned some of the coding behind the project, questioned the code on the website. They were using an outdated code called MD5 that's open to certain abuses. Now, I'm not a coder. I'm not going to try and explain this in depth. If you do want to know more about it, watch Ivan on Tech's video. It's linked below in the description as usual. And there's also the alpha video from Credits linked in the description. Now, my point here is, of course, people are going to be skeptical. Of course, they're going to look at new projects with an amount of skepticism because, projects need to prove themselves. But Credits have now uploaded code onto GitHub, and they've gone some way in alleviating some concerns that investors may have had. Now, that's not to say this project does not still pose risk. Of course it does. All projects pose risk. This is an ambitious project, so it's going to pose a higher risk than other projects that are less ambitious. And I always keep telling you this, guys, that when you're investing in projects, if a project is it's good to see ambition. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you put your money in something that isn't going to achieve what it says it does, then you're not going to realize your investment. So less ambitious projects are sometimes a better bet, if you like. So you've got to be careful. You've got to be aware of the risks, and that's why I'm bringing these issues up to you now in this section, because this project is very ambitious and there's still question marks over when and if they can implement as well. Let's hope they can. I'd love to see 1 million transactions per second on the blockchain. I'm sure everybody else would as well. As I said, the GitHub is now available, so let's wait and see. But if there wasn't a risk, you wouldn't be getting the tokens for 50 cents, 60 cents, guys. It's as simple as that. So I found this interesting post from Coinjudge on Reddit, and it goes into the issue that the code that they submitted to GitHub is basically not that great. And there was an analogy they gave as well, which I really liked, and I want to reiterate that to you. They say that for those that are not into programming, the code submitted is analogous to the following situation. A man says that he can cook the best food in the world. He's then asked to prove it, and instead of bringing a plate of his best cooked meal, he brings a broken plate. And they go into exactly why the code on GitHub is faulty and what the issues are as well. So as I say, risks taken into account here, guys. I bring you the red flags. I don't shill topics. I like to get excited about topics, but I won't shill them. I'll bring you exactly all the information you need to make up your mind on what you're going to do with them. It's all about doing due diligence and research. The more research you got, the better armed you are. So what does the future hold? Well, we're in March now, and we're expecting a beta in the next couple of weeks, as stated on their roadmap here. And if they can launch a beta and then people will start to use it, I think this project will get more legitimacy. As you can see here, the main release will be in June 2018. I think that's maybe a little bit optimistic and maybe over ambitious, but it'll be interesting to see whether they can actually get it released that fast. If they can, then you're going to get a lot of platforms, a lot of dApps being built on the back of this platform, and then you're going to get again more legitimacy. And at the moment, this project, I think, needs to find legitimacy. It needs to nail down legitimacy, and once it's accepted that it's a legitimate project and not a scam, then I think a lot more people will start to get in and invest in it. As such, at the moment we have some interesting technological advances happening. So you've got pre-alpha stage here, alpha stage which we're at the moment, as they've already demoed, and the beta stage coming very, very soon indeed. Release candidate will be to check the errors, make wallets for Android, etc., and then to optimize finally when it does eventually get released. So yeah, it's not that long away, and at the moment it's still a bargain in my opinion, if you want to take the risk. Okay, so let's look at the verdict now, and first off, as usual, the positives that I see in this ICO. Now, the first one is obviously it could be a game-changing blockchain. It could be something that ups the game so much it renders all the other technology pretty much obsolete, and that's something you have to bear in mind when you're looking at this. Number two, it's a multi-trillion market potential. We talked about it before, 6.7 $1 trillion of untapped market in the business-to-business e-commerce sector. I like the fact that they've actually done due diligence on their business model. You know, they have a SWOT analysis. It's pretty basic, but at least it shows they've done it. They're thinking about this from a business perspective as well. You can see that through their team. They've got a lot of marketers. They've got a lot of people driving the project forward over and above just the technical team. Number four, it currently represents a reasonable entry point at under 100 million market cap with a relatively low supply of about 140 million tokens. It's currently a pretty good entry point, I would say, if you're going to invest. And number five, it's not on any major exchanges yet. It's not on your Binances, you know, your OKX and all the rest of it. It's still only on KuCoin and some of the other dexes, which, you know, again, it represents a reasonable entry point too. Number six, the team has actually attempted to address some of the red flags. They've got the demo, the alpha up, you know, and they're active on social media as well. The blog posts all the time, so it shows that they're actually trying to dispel some of the FUD or some of the red flags that have been created around this project. So that's a good sign that they're trying to fight fires. Number seven, another bonus here is they have a huge community support. They have a lot of people backing this project. It's quite polarizing, this project. There are a lot of people that are just convinced it's a scam already, but there's also a good community support behind it, which, again, you know, projects need the community to survive and go on and be a success. Number eight, I think the material is well produced. I'm not going to comment specifically on the technical papers, but the you know, the fact that they've got the trouble to make PowerPoints, the fact they've gone to have a white paper, a technical paper, and a 3-pager. The website's okay. It's not the greatest website that I've seen, but it's okay. You know, the material is well produced. It's you know, it's explanatory and it's quite easy to read as well. Number nine, they did have a successful ICO and it sold out, so that shows there's demand for this. And number 10, it's already survived the bear market relatively unscathed. You know, it's down from its all-time high, but it's survived and it's still going. And still sort of one of the biggest gainers today. Indicates there's still a lot of demand for this, a lot of hype behind it. So to the negative now, let's have a look. Well, one, the code appears to be amateurish. There's coders who know a lot more about the coding than I do, saying it appears to be amateurish, and you know, there's going to be questions then raised over whether they can actually implement. You know, if they have raised a lot of money through the ICO, then they need to go and get a blockchain expert that's able to at least implement if they can't already do so. So the question marks still remain, in my opinion, over when whether they can implement this technology or not. Number three, to compound the first two negatives, this is still security concerns with the current code, as I've been pointing out. So, you know, we need to see resolution there in order to prove that this project can actually implement. Number four, ambitious projects, which this one is, in no exception, they're riskier investments. If you invest in ambitious projects, it's going to be, you know, it's going to be a very big risk whether they can implement. And if they don't implement, there's a risk of losing your investment, or at least a good percentage of it. Another negative for me here is the core team is too localized. They're all in Russia. They don't have any international developers working for them. I don't like localized teams. I've said this on numerous occasions before. I like to see a mix. I like to see a lot of different nationalities all working together. Number six, competition is going to be tough here. The competition is already very, very well established, as you know. Ethereum, Neo, even stuff like Dragon Chain, which hasn't been that successful as a platform so far. It's already established. So these are going to be hard nuts to crack, especially the big players, Ethereum and Neo at the moment. with EOS launching ICOs, Icon launching ICOs, and many others intending to do so as well. Platforms face a stiff competition. Number 7, as a result, they may struggle to find devs willing to work on the platform. With the amateurish code as well, that's going to make it even more difficult. And from my point of view, not being able to find developers means that this project could stagnate and it might suffer as a result. So let's have a look at the potential gains here. So let's look at the markets first of all. An ultra bearish market, I think it's just going to stay where it is, to be honest. Maybe even go down a little bit. It's not really going to gain much traction unless we see some major developments. In a bearish market, this could still have the potential to 2x if there's an announcement over the code and certain things start moving forward. Yeah, this could easily do a 2x. There's a lot of hype behind it. It's not just going to stagnate, I feel, even in a bearish environment. However, in a bullish environment, I think this could fulfill quite a lot of potential here. Now, I've heard some YouTubers and some other influencers saying this has got 100x potential. Not so sure about that, given the size of the market cap currently, but it's certainly got a potential to do a 10x. We think the market cap at the moment is only, I think, around $85 million. Yeah, in a bullish market, platforms always tend to do relatively well. If they can even fulfill, if they can even hit and prove they can hit 500,000 transactions per second, then 10x in this project is not beyond the realms of possibility whatsoever. And if people start to take them really seriously, and the red flags are all addressed, and everybody accepts it's going to be a legitimate platform for the future, then a 25x here is not beyond the realms of possibility, especially in a very bullish market. So looking at the current status then, well, I feel for the outlook going forward in the longer term, I'm cautiously optimistic on this platform. I think that I have to give it the benefit of the doubt at this particular moment, regardless of the red flags that have been raised. And as for our current status, I still think it's a good buy under $1. I still think there's some gains to be made here, given the market cap size, given the current token price, and given where it is in the big scheme of things. It isn't even in the top 100 yet. I still recommend this as a buy under $1. So final verdict time, final rating time. I think there's risk here, but again, many people called Ethereum a scam as well. They didn't believe, in the smart contracts. They didn't believe in the technology behind Ethereum, and look where we are today. So I think there's a definite risk, but I think that this has got potential. Providing the red flags are addressed, this could be something serious for the future. And as a result of the red flags and the amateurish coding, I'm going to have to knock marks off it, and I only give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. The other thing that this project has got to address is not only the red flags, but the FUD around it as well, and that's quite difficult to get rid of, given that a lot of people make up their minds and are not open to changing their minds on a particular project. So it could be quite difficult to get rid of the FUD that's surrounding this project. But if the red flags are addressed, then who knows, the sky's the limit. So 3.5 stars out of 5 for this one. I enjoyed doing this review. I think it's a project with some serious potential. As I already said, I'm invested in it. I bought a couple of weeks ago. I bought some. I didn't get into the ICO, but I bought some on exchanges, and I've been continuing to add to my bag of credits, and probably at current prices I will continue to do so, as I feel it's worth taking the risk, in my opinion. But as ever, you're going to make that decision for yourself, and that's something you have to really go through all the stuff that I've discussed and all the material that's available to you. So always bear in mind that cryptocurrency poses inherent risk, and that you need to do your own due diligence, do your own research, and come to your own conclusions. And again, guys, this isn't financial advice. It's just my opinion, and made for entertainment purposes only. So thanks for watching. I do appreciate everybody that likes and subscribes and watches this video. Every little bit helps for me, and I didn't get paid for this video either. That's the other thing I have to say. Nobody approached me or said, hey, can you do a video on credits? I did it purely because so many of you guys actually asked and you know, here it is. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later. I'm going to do an ICO review next. I think I've been doing the news videos. I'm trying to go, you know, I'm trying to maintain the two-pronged approach, do the token and ICO reviews, but also do news reviews as well, news videos, because there's not often a lot happening, and maybe not so much that I want to review, and these reviews take a long time to go through and produce. So that's why I tend to do you know, a couple of news videos as well. Okay guys, thanks very much, and I'll see you later on.